Hey, what's up, guys? It's the Fantasy Files podcast, basketball edition. It's your week 12. It's our week 12 show. We're into the season now, but everyone's still getting COVID. Like last week, guys are still balling that we talked about last week. Josh Christopher, Jordan Wara, Yurtsevin. Pick up Yurtsevin if he's available. I'll tell you that right now. He's getting like 14 rebounds a game in minutes until Dedmon. Even if Dedmon comes back, I think that guy's proven he can be in there. But yeah, so those guys, Denny Avdia is playing great, right? So all these guys we talked about last week, still look at them. If you haven't listened to our last week's podcast, it's still relevant because very similar guys are still on COVID. They're still in health and safety protocols. It's good news that vaccinated people can now come back within 5 days. They don't have to quarantine in isolation for 10, which is really promising for fantasy managers since this has been a very harrowing time. Seems like everyone's getting health and safety protocols. Aiden went into health and safety protocols right after he looked at our story the other day. So I literally entered like right after.
Yeah, I did.
But yeah, so let's roll. I'll put on the timer and we'll discuss these guys. Help you guys try and get a win this week with COVID. And yeah, let's do it. 15 starting right now. Alrighty. So first guy I want to talk about is Max Streuse. And this is a born and bred grinder, someone who wasn't highly recruited ever in his life, coming to the NBA, finally gets an opportunity similar to Garrison Matthews, 3-and-D, and he's just been balling. I mean, if you look at the fantasy points, 34 fantasy points, 20 fantasy points. I know he only had 10 last game, but the game before, 35 fantasy points, like I mentioned, 22 fantasy points, 23 fantasy points, 9 again, but then 15 and 25. I mean, this is an average of about 19 fantasy points over the past week and a half. He's been balling. I mean, he's taken some of Duncan Robinson's production away. I know they paid Duncan Robinson, so Duncan Robinson's going to get the minutes because that man got paid. But still, this is a guy that if he's on the waivers, you have to pick him up. I know it might be misleading his total average, which is like 10 on the year, but man, like I mentioned, a 19-point average over the past 2 weeks, and he's available in still 92% of leagues. So if he's there, this guy will win you your fantasy matchups throughout these COVID protocols. I promise you that. Lock him in as a winner this week. What do you think, Grant?
Yeah, I agree with you just because I mean, you look at look at his stat line. Holy cow. 32 points on December 17th. 32. That's nothing to gawk your eye at. 24, 18, 26, 13. I mean, he even gets some rebounds, 7 rebounds, 6 rebounds. He put some assists in there. Um, he's not a very good defender. He doesn't get blocks, doesn't get steals, but who cares if he's scoring that much? Who really cares? This guy's really, really good. If you take a look at his 3-point percentage, not that amazing over his last 10, but he's scoring, and you need scoring. He gets a lot of assists. I think it's a solid lock for me. I don't know. I said the last pod, the Heat are kind of rolling on all cylinders. They're firing on all cylinders. I don't understand why, because they shouldn't be. I mean, they have all these guys out, and all these guys are stepping up. Yurtseven, Struce, Gabe Vincent, who we'll probably get to. So yeah, I'm in on everybody Heat, but we'll get to Gabe Vincent a little bit later.
Oh, we'll get to him right now. Why not? Same team, right? Gabe Vincent, he's been balling. If you look at him, he's available, I believe, 96% of leagues. Yeah, still
I don't know if that's changed.
96% of leagues. Look at this, man.
Wow.
Look at these lines. 13 fantasy. Look at the minutes first. First, I'll tell you the minutes. 35 minutes, 34 minutes, 32 minutes, 33 minutes, 36 minutes, 35 minutes. Right there, that tells you he's going to be put in fantastic positions to get fantasy points since he's on the floor so much with these protocols. He's their point guard right now. It's not. I mean, I know Kyle Lowry's coming back soon, but for the time being, Gabe Vincent deserves playing time nonetheless. When Kyle Lowry comes back, he still deserves to be in the mix. 12 fantasy points, 21 fantasy points, 11 fantasy points, 7 fantasy points, 21 fantasy points, 16 fantasy points. He's hit or miss. I like him a lot. I do think Kyle Lowry's going to come back very soon. So in this week, apparently. So I'm out on Vincent for one reason. As good as he's been, it's not like in the minutes he's getting, he's putting out like outstanding numbers like Struce or Yurtseven, who are just lock it in 15 plus fantasy points. He's more inconsistent. You see, this is concerning to me when you have 35 minutes and he put in only 7 fantasy points. To me, that's very concerning. And also when you add in Kyle Lowry's going to come back this week, especially since he's vaccinated and these new rules. I mean, he's probably back by next game. I'm completely out on Vincent and in on Yurtseven. I mean, how could you not be in on Yurtseven? This is a guy who's averaging 13 rebounds a game when he gets the minutes, and he can shoot threes. I saw this guy, like we mentioned last week, the moment we saw him in the summer league, that first game against Mac McClung's Lakers and Austin Reeves and all those guys. That guy had like 30 points that game. He was making threes, he was getting rebounds, he was getting assists. This is a gem. And to answer your question, Grant, about how these guys are continue to roll, I think it's the culture. The culture there is amazing. They have guys that are grinders, they're gritty, they perform well, and when their opportunity comes, they capitalize because they know that like this is a championship caliber team. And when Jimmy and all those guys come back, and Adebayo and all those guys, there's going to be limited playing time for them. So this is a competition for them against their teammates, not just against the other team. So do you agree here with Vincent, or are you in on Vincent and also Yurtseven? Give me your thoughts.
No, I'm in on Vincent too. Just because I think this has kind of proved that he can do this. Like he can score at this level. And it's not just the scoring either, though. I mean, he has had some games where it's like, oh well, he didn't score that much, but he puts in rebounding has been kind of surprising to me. 4 or 5 rebounds a game at his size with 8 assists. That's a pretty good stat line. And like you were mentioning, all the fantasy point lines, like it's not bad. And I know it's probably inconsistent. It's probably inconsistent to the point where it'll probably shy you away. But for me, I think he's kind of got confidence in him to where it's like, okay, Kyle Lowry's back, so what? I'm still going to do my thing, So I'm in on everybody Heat. Yurtseven's awesome. I liked him in summer league, and I was waiting for them to put him in, but they got Deadman. They had Adebayo, so it was kind of a matter of when for me, not if. With Yurtseven, so yeah, I'm in on everybody Heat.
Yeah, and that's good. Even Duncan Robinson,
yeah, he's found a stroke.
He's good, man.
He's really found a stroke.
Yeah,
earlier in the year he was struggling.
exactly. I'm in on Duncan as well. I like Duncan a lot. He's a grinder, another grinder on that team. Let's go into Otto Porter Jr., the hero on Christmas for the Warriors, other than Steph Curry with 33
Christmas
points that
hero.
game. I mean, he took over in the fourth quarter. Look at these stat lines: 25 fantasy points, 22 fantasy points, 20 fantasy points, and 14 fantasy points. This is a sure thing winner by our standards of 13 plus every single time he plays. And he got 14 fantasy points in 5 games ago in 16 minutes. So this is a guy that like Grant was talking about earlier, is like Nicholas Batum. This year's Nicholas Batum. This is a guy who's going to make a run in the playoffs, be their glue guy to make shots when Steph is being guarded and Jordan Poole's being guarded. He's available still in 92% of leagues. This is a guy that's going to win you fantasy leagues. He's in for the long haul. You pick him up if you want to win your league. If you don't want to win your league, don't pick him up, but you need to pick him up if you want to win your league. 92% of leagues.
Yeah.
So
he reminds me so much of Batum last year, and kind of the first part of this year before he got COVID. A glue guy, just a glue guy that'll give you some good quality defense. He'll make the clutch 3 for you, but he's just kind of that veteran presence that they need in that second unit. He took over against Phoenix. Phoenix is Phoenix is second now. I mean, they're second now. They're the 2 seed now, but he took over against Phoenix in a clutch situation. Like they didn't even need Steph Curry. Like he literally took the ball into his own hands and said, "I'm going to win this game," and he did. That's the kind of guy that he is, and he has been in the past. This year he has a way different role, but this role is, I think, suited better for him. You look at his stat lines, a lot of rebounds, 8 and 9, 19 and 6, 3 blocks, 4 blocks in back-to-back games. That is a lot. That is huge for your fantasy team. So I don't know why he's available in that many leagues, but yeah, I'd pick him up now, especially with all the COVID stuff. I mean, you need some forwards, some wings that'll get you some points. So
okay, the next guy I want to talk about is John Konchar. This is a guy we normally wouldn't talk about, but Dylan Brooks entered health and safety protocols, and Konchar is getting a ton of minutes. Again, it's a small sample size. He's only been serious minutes in 2 games. In those 2 games, 30 fantasy points and around 13, 14 fantasy points. So as long as Dylan Brooks is out, which he should be for the next couple of games, Konchar is a winner this week. I like what he can do. I like this whole Memphis team. You know me, Memphis has become my second favorite basketball team. Obviously, I'm a Laker fan, but Memphis, I love the grit of this team. I love the city of Memphis. I love the rap music, Moneybag Yo, Key Glock, RIP Young Dolph. And I love this team. I'm obsessed with this team. I love every single player. This is the deepest team in the league. Dylan Brooks, John Konchar, D'Anthony Melton's amazing. Jaren Jackson Jr., Steven Adams, Desmond Bain, amazing. Kyle Anderson, amazing. Xavier Tillman, who's not even playing much this year, great. I mean, this is a team that's just got Tyus Jones is great when he plays. He's fantastic. This is a very deep team, and that's why I said they could get to the second round. I think they do get to the second round of the Western Conference playoffs this year. I do think they beat a team like Dallas, Denver, LA Clippers, maybe even LA Lakers, the way the
Dallas
Lakers
has
are
to
playing.
make it first.
No, let's be real. If LeBron gets in, I know they've been losing. They'll beat a team like the Grizzlies if they play the Grizzlies. Like, it's LeBron. They wouldn't beat a team like Phoenix or Golden State right now, the Lakers, but they'd beat a team like Memphis because of the inexperience and just LeBron being the best player in the NBA still. But yeah, I'm in on Conchar. You look at 30 fantasy points and then 14 fantasy points. I'm in on all these Memphis players. Anybody who plays, obviously John Morant, and Steven Adams as always. But John Conchar is available in 99.8% of leagues. Only available. He's only owned in 0.2% of leagues. 0.2 of a percent. Yeah. So if you're in a deep league like us, like Grant and I, this is a guy that you need to look at, especially with more playing time. This guy's been absolutely balling. So I'm in on John Contra. That's my guy. I never go against Memphis. You go against Memphis, you always lose. Remember that. I never bet against that team. Never bet against John Moran. I know he's not playing well right now. That's an NBA superstar you're looking at.
Uh, I mean, I'm gonna agree with you on the Conchar thing, just because look, he has he has 5 rebounds already in this game tonight. It's I think the first quarter still against Phoenix, 5 rebounds already. Um, and then the game before 11 and 14 with three assists, 2 blocks, and 2 steals. Like that's that like you were saying, that's that Memphis grind, man. That's that Memphis grit that they have. They just put their nose into something and they do it, man. Like they're gonna stick their nose in everybody's business, man. Like this team is pretty freaking good on the defensive end, and that's like what's kept them afloat. I mean, their record isn't even as good as I think it can be, and they're the 4 seed. So yeah, I like Conchar, definitely, just because I think they're going to use him a lot more. They kind of saw what he can do. I mean, he went 11-5, 9-5 earlier in the month, and then ever since then, I think his minutes have been up. Since then, yeah, he's gotten really good minutes ever since then. He had 28 the last game, so yeah, I'm all in on him.
Speaking of grit and grind, I love our guy on the Lakers, Stanley Johnson, who brought a defensive presence to the game,
Ooh.
signed to that 10-day contract. He's going to get another one. They're not letting this guy go. I know they let IT head into free agency. They didn't give him a second deal, and that's because he didn't play defense. Thomas
Good
was
decision.
Yeah,
Good
he doesn't play
decision.
defense. Stanley Johnson is an elite defender. This is one of the guys that is just a grinder. His time in Toronto last year and the year before, I mean, he balled in the minutes he got. It's a guy who's a SoCal legend, was the number one player in the country at modern day. So years ago, in 2014, Arizona, great career, and he was an elite defender when he was like 4 years old. Everyone knew he was just defense. They could tell like this guy was going to be an elite defender for years to come. I'm in on him because he's going to play the minutes. I know again it's a small sample size. Our 2 games, 27 minutes, 28 minutes, 12 fantasy points, stuff like that. He's not been considered a winner yet, but I think he's put in positions to succeed. So that's why I'm in on Stanley Johnson this week.
Yeah.
As crazy as it sounds, and hey Grant, think about it like this: if you're in a deep league, pick up Stanley Johnson this week with all the COVID protocols because he's available in 99.9% of leagues. Only available. You thought Conchar was crazy
Ooh.
with zero point 0.2 available. Stanley Johnson's zero point 0.1 available of a percent. So I think he's
Jeez.
a winner this week, especially if you're in a deep league. If you're in an 8-man league, you don't need any of these guys we're talking about, but we're talking 10 and 12-man leagues. These are guys that can definitely help you get through the protocols.
Yeah, man, it's crazy because this guy literally just got signed over like the past weekend, and here we are talking about him. He wasn't even on anybody's radar before then, which I don't know why. I mean, he showed excellent energy on Christmas Day. He kind of sparked that team. Like that's what the team needed. And granted, they were getting blown out for a while, but I mean, they came back, and I mean, he wasn't a sole reason for it, but you could just tell that a guy with that much energy on the defensive end, and look, I mean, he hit what 2 threes, I think, maybe 1 3 and a couple of buckets there, but his defense alone is going to propel you. And look, we keep saying this. you need points rather than nothing. Like if you guys have, I have 7 guys on the COVID list. Like if you need a guy that's going to get go in there, get you a few steals, get you a few blocks, hit an occasional three in the corner. I mean, he's going to be better than I think, for that team, and they're going to incorporate him a lot more. I think. Maybe when Reeves comes back, they'll have him and Reeves play, and that'll be kind of a formidable defensive wing set. So, yeah, I think they're going to sign him for the rest of the. I mean, they should sign him for the rest of the year. I don't know if they will, but for now, I think that Stanley Johnson's a good ad.
With you 100%. Let's go into Gary Harris. We only got a minute left on the timer. I know it's going by super quick. Gary Harris, 35 minutes, 33 minutes, 30 minutes, 36 minutes, 36 minutes. And every single one of those games, he's had 16 plus fantasy points: 21, 16, 19, 19, 18. And again, he's available in 94% of leagues. Another guy that's just an absolute beast recently with the COVID protocols. And this is a guy who's really good and healthy. He wasn't, he was in and out of dealing with an injury to start the year. This is a guy they signed. They gave a fair amount of money to Orlando to help these young guys get and be a veteran. As crazy as it sounds, at like 26. He's been in the league. He's been in big games with Denver. This is a player. This 3-and-D guy. We don't know if he could be a winner. We're just assuming. This guy's been a winner for 2 weeks now, and he's available in 94% of leagues. So if you want to win your league, pick up Gary Harris. He's been absolutely balling.
Yeah. I mean, shoot. I mean, the only bad game he's had is against the Lakers, which he only scored 6 points. Everything other than that has been double figures, and in some of those games, 7 rebounds, which is crazy for his size. 7 rebounds, 4 rebounds, 5 rebounds, and then you add on the assists, and he'll get the occasional steal as well. He's shooting 50% from three in his past 10 games. Like that's really freaking good. And like you said, they have a lot of guys out with COVID, so he's going to get the minutes, and he was getting the minutes even before that, but he's getting 30 plus minutes a game, so he's going to have that, in his arsenal. Like he can score the ball, but the intangibles is what I really like to look at. I mean, he'll get you the occasional block too, just crazy for his size. But all that stuff added up is going to be an easy fantasy winner, especially with a lot of guys out for the Magic. So yeah, I'm in on him.
All right, let's talk about one of the guys who's the talk of the talk right now. Cam Reddish, 33 points. 2 of the last 4 games, he's had 33 points. He's very inconsistent. So he had 33 points against the Bulls. He had only 10 points against New York on Christmas, 18 points against Philadelphia on the 23rd, and then again 34 points on the 22nd against Orlando. So this is a guy that's hit or miss, but he's been absolutely balling. He's still available in 90% of leagues. And this is a guy that's getting the minutes, 39 minutes, 35 minutes, 40 minutes, 42 minutes, 28 minutes. I mean, this is a guy who's getting minutes. We knew he'd always be pretty good. Everyone figured he was a long-term guy, but he was going to be really good. He's blossoming into this gifted scorer. I know he's not that efficient, with the 33 points against the Bulls. He had 24 fantasy points only because he missed a lot of shots and he turns the ball over a fair amount. But look, this is a guy that's been a winner consistently. These games where he puts up 35 points makes him a winner, and it makes up for the games he gives you like 6 fantasy points. So I'm all in on Cam Reddish right now. That man is balling like nobody's business. I think he's a winner this week. What do you think, Rand? That's the timer. So
Yeah, yeah, I really do. I really think he's a winner. This is kind of what they expected when they drafted him, right? They're like, well, this guy's going to be one of our big three guys. And look at he's shown it: 34, 18, 10, 30, 33. Like if you have 2 30-point games in a week span, that's how you know you're on a roll. I hope to God he stays healthy, and even his 3 point percentage, 37% for him is pretty good. That's actually really not that bad. He gets the occasional steal. He might have a couple steals in a game, a couple blocks maybe. So the intangibles are there as well. I'd like to see his rebounds go up a little more for his size, but I understand if he's scoring that much, go ahead, take a seat for the rebounds. But yeah, I'm in on Cam Reddish. I just want to see this Hawks team healthy. And I think with him healthy, with John Collins healthy and Trey Young's coming back, I think they're going to be pretty good. So yeah, I'm in on
I'm
Cam
with you
Reddish.
100%. All right, let's end on Jock Landau. Another guy's available in 99.8% of leagues.
Ooh,
He's been good. 12 fantasy points for.
the Los Angeles
Yeah,
Killer.
14 fantasy points, 16 fantasy points, 12 fantasy points, 8 fantasy points. He's getting minutes right now. I know Pirtle's back in there, but Jock Landau. I mean, I saw this guy play at St. Mary's, and he was fantastic, dominating teams like Gonzaga in college. 6'11", can do a lot with the ball. I was surprised he wasn't drafted as a first-round pick. That's how good I thought he was when I was scouting him when he was at St. Mary's College, California, which gets all the good Australian players, Patty Mills, Matthew Delanova, Jock Landau. What's so cool about these COVID protocols, and we'll end on this, is that they're allowing these players to come and show you how good they are. Guys we've known that have either dominated the G League or, dominated in college but never got the opportunity.
Overseas.
I mean, I like that Cassius Stanley is finally going to get an opportunity with minutes now. This is a guy who is a good prospect, very athletic, has the rest of his game needs work, but going to get time. Max, these are guys that we're very thankful to see, and the guys we talked about today will definitely help you. I'm in on Jock Landau barely. He hasn't shown me that much in his playing time, but he's shown enough where more points is better than nothing. I'm in on him as a winner. Take us away, Grant.
I mean, I'm in on Jock Landale. I remember me and my dad were watching the Clippers game, Clippers Spurs. They go, "Oh, that's his first career 3 ever." I'm like, "What? What? Where did this dude come from, Jock Landale?" And then here he comes. He scores like 15 points against the Clippers, and then he dominates the Lakers. It's like this guy came out of nowhere all of a sudden. Actually, he scored 8 against. I'm sorry, I went a little bit too far. He scored 8 against the Clippers, but I mean, this guy, ever since then, 13, 18, playing this week against Utah, we'll see how he does there. And I'm just really on him because I think they're incorporating that Spurs team is kind of clicking. It's crazy. I don't know why or how, because well now they have Murray out, which is going to be a little tough. But that means Jock Landale, he's going to get more time. He's going to get more touches. He's going to get more points. So more minutes. Minutes are everything on this podcast. You guys know that. So yeah, I'm in on him. I think he's like one of their 3 ball threats. He's shot 53% in his past 10 games, and he's going to get more minutes now because I think Pop kind of saw what he can do now. So, um, yeah, I'm in on him. I'm in on Jock Landale. It's great to see these guys get a chance too, like you said.
100%. That's our show today. It's your co-hosts, Brandon Deutsch and Grant Mona. Hopefully you listen to our advice. You win your fantasy matchups this week. Remember, this isn't just temporary. Some of the guys we talked about are temporary because of COVID, but Otto Porter Jr. is going to win you fantasy leagues. Cam Reddish could win you fantasy leagues. It's all about the production, and these guys that we're talking about have continued production. So thank you guys so much. Happy holidays.